Welcome to part 1, where you're going to model the cylinder. To start, you will learn how to set up reference images for 3 of the views to assist with the modeling process. You will focus on one section, then use reflection and rotational symmetry to build up the cylinder geometry. So to start, what we want to do is download the project files in the Revolver _lesson start directory. So we're going to go File, Set Project, and you should have put the Revolver lesson files in the Houdini project directory. Double click, and once you're in here, we're going to press Accept, and that puts us in that project. We're going to go File, Save As. We're now pointed in there where we can add the name Revolver 01. And there we go. So this gets us started there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to press the V key, and we're going to do Layout. We're going to go 4 views bottom. And this will give us a view here and a bunch of views here. And what we're going to do is we're going to change these. So we're going to change this to a right view. We're going to change this to a perspective view. Leave that as a front. And this one we're going to set as a back. And the reason we've done this is because of the different images that we're going to put in the background that's going to help us with the work. Now once we're in there, let's go over this one here and press D. And if we go to background, you'll see that we're focused on the right view. We can now click on this, and then we can go Texture and Side. Accept. Now, if we push this off to the side here, you'll see that it's not sized very well. What we need to do is we need to change this to 0.05, tab, 0.05, tab, and opacity we're going to put in 0.6. Okay, and now we can zoom in and see there is the piece there. Now you got to make sure auto place image is off, because if that was there, then changing the view would not change the size the image, so things would get out of aligned or not aligned properly. So what we want to do is we want to have that so everything works together. So that's important. Now once we have that, we're going to go to the front, where we can put a front one in, and again to align things 0.05, 0.6. And similarly, we're going to go to the back, and we get the back. Okay. Now, what we can do with this is, let's close that. These two, they don't look right. What we can do is go up to here. This is another place where you can pick the views. We can go Link Ortho Views. What that means is that these now sort of are synced up, so that if you zoom in or out of those, they're in relation to each other. So that's quite helpful. And we're going to change the shading to smooth wired shading. We could also do that with the V key. So you go Shading, Smooth Wired Shading. So that's an option there. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go C, Create, Geometry, and Tube. We're going to take that and go Enter. And this adds a tube in the center there. And we're at the object level right now, so there's a tube object here. And what we want to do is we don't want to change anything here at this level. We want to deal with what's inside here. There's a node in here called tube, and these are the parameters we want to change. But luckily, if we go back up to the object level, we can do a lot of that right here in the top here, so we don't need to dive down. So for instance, we can change this to the z-axis. We can change the radius. Let's make the radius 1, tab 1, and then we can use radius scale to go 0.12. And then we can set a height of 0.225. Now we want rows to be 2, but columns we're going to go with 48. And this is going to give us enough detail for when we go to model this. And as you can see, if we go W, we're lining that piece up with the cylinder that we have inside. Now, in 3 dimensions, you'll see, oh, we want to cap off the ends, so there is an option for capping off the ends. Perfect. Once we have that, let's take this tube, and we're going to Alt drag it to create a second one. We don't worry about naming because these are all going to get combined later. So in this case, we're going to do a radius scale of 0.0114. And the height, we're going to make it into 0.3. So it sticks out the ends because we're going to actually cut these this out. And if you go down to here, W, essentially, let's go spacebar B to go up. Essentially, we're making an opening for there, and then we need to make the openings for these guys, but we're only going to make one of them. So that'll be the third thing that we do right now. So let's go in and... Oh, before we do that, one of the things with this tube is we don't want to have, we want to have 24 columns for that. That'll work out better for us there. So we're going to Alt drag this third one. And this one, we're going to have columns of 12. And we're going to do a radius scale of 0.035 or 345. And that can be, if we dive down into here, we can move this up to here. And maybe we go 0.75. Okay? And that, like I said, B, that lines that up with that hole. Now, we don't need to make 6 of them. You're going to see later because we're going to isolate our modeling in this area, and we'll do that radial symmetry a little bit later. Okay. The next thing we need to do is go back up to the object level. Okay, we've got the 3 objects, and what we want to do now is we want to select the first one here. We're then going to go to the Model tab. We're going to click Boolean. It's going to ask us for, let's select the next 2 and press Enter. And if we press L in here, what you'll see is that we've got the main tube feeding in to the front, these feeding into the second, and it's created a Boolean intersect, which is not what we want. We actually want to do subtract. And if we press W, you'll see that now we've got that first shape with 2 holes cut out of it. So if we go spacebar B, so we see this, now we can press N to select everything. We're going to tab clip. And that clips everything right down the center, which is exactly what we want. Now we want to do some more clipping, but instead of doing it here, we're going to put it in here. So we're going to put a clip node down here. Set the display flag. And this time we're going to work based on transform. And we're going to here put -30, and we want the primitives below the plane. So we've created this little wedge that is specifically of this sort of 1/2 of one of those circles. And that's where we're going to do a lot of our modeling, and then we're going to use symmetry to build things back. We're then going to go in another clip, and this one here, we actually want to go in the opposite direction. So what we want to do is the direction should be 0, tab 1. And that cuts it. Because there's also some symmetry on this side. So whatever we do when we're modeling the front here, we want to copy that to the other side. So we're going to take advantage. When you take advantage of symmetry, you can reduce the number of steps you have to take to do things. Now before we actually start doing that detail modeling, let's show how we can put everything back together again. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go N. Now that doesn't work when we're in this. We need to be in the select tool, N, tab mirror. And this time, instead of going in that direction, we're going to go 0, tab 1. And so that's restoring that second half there. Then we're going to go N. Again, we need the select tool, N. We're just going to press Q to do a repeat. This time that direction is what we want, so that's perfect. Then we're going to press N. We need to be in the select tool and press N. We're going to go tab, copy, and transform. Now once we have that, what we can do is we can rotate in Z by 60. And then we want to create a whole bunch of other copies. So we don't want 7, we want 6. So 6 gives us copies for all of there, and we have our original shape there. So that's perfect. Now once we have that, we can go back and start to add details into here that will then get mirrored. So in a way, these mirrors, they're going to be down here, and we're not going to worry about them for right now. We'll come back to those later. So we're going to set the display flag on this clip node, which takes us back to, let's just get the select tool for now, and takes us back to here. Okay, so if we go N, we're going to go Tab, PolyDraw. Now this adds a PolyDraw into there, and it also gives us a tool we can start to work with here. Now what we want to do is we don't need those right now. We're going to go Shift F1. You can look at those tips later, but I think we'll be fine as we are here. And it looks like we're not seeing, let's do smooth wired shaded so we can see the topology here. So we're going to go, there's a bunch of modes in here that you can work with, and we're going to use that third one, which is the scissors, that we're going to go in and go from here to here. And then you middle click to stop. And then we're going to go from here to here and middle click to stop. So we can just keep doing this. So we're going to go from here to here, and then we're going to go out to this edge here, stop. We're going to go from here to here, stop. Now we don't really want that edge, so select. We want to get rid of this edge. So we want to shift select those and delete. And that will allow us to come in again with the scissors tool, and we're going to go from here to here to here. And so we've taken that front face and divided it up into pieces that are going to be a lot easier to work with. Now once we finish, press Shift Delete, just in case we left any points around. We don't really want that. So now we're going to move this first mirror node up and set the display flag. And what this means is that we now have all the detail we added in there is also available on the other side. So that way we only had to do the work once instead of doing it twice. Now once we have that, we're going to go B, B. We're going to go up to here. And we're going to go to the polygon shelf, and we're going to get edge loop. And the goal right now is to add some lines in here that will line up with this right here. So we're going to go in there and click there. Press Q. Go over to here and there. And if we go spacebar B, you'll see that we now have detail in there that we can use. Now the way we're going to use that is we're going to press, go to the select tool. We're in edge selection. Let's press 4 to get face selection. We're going to select this face here. And then we're going to do poly extrude. Now because this is at a slight angle, we want it to go directly up and down. So we're going to use transform extruded front. And we're going to make sure this says global. And we're going to push that down. And we're going to push it down 008. Okay. Now, once we have that, we take the select tool, we select this little side face here, and we press delete, which blasts that out. And that will get mirrored across and create the little hole that's that notch that we see in that shape. Now when we press delete, we got a blast node in here. So every action Houdini sort of becomes something, so that's important. Now we want to work on this edge, this little area here, but we want it to be lined up with the main axis. So we're going to go here and tab transform. Okay, now one of the problems is it put it there. So what we want to do is just get that pivot. Let's put that 0, 0. Let's put the center right there. We want to rotate in Z by 30. And what this does is it just changes. So now this is on the main axis, which is exactly what we want. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to select this face and this face. And we're going to poly extrude again. Again, we're going to go extruded front global. And we're going to push that down. And let's go 0.14. Yeah, let's just round that out. And there we go. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to say, well, there's some faces here we're not going to need. We're not going to need that. We're not going to need that. We're not going to need that. And I think we'll get rid of that and we'll rebuild that in a minute. And we're going to go delete. Okay. Now, there's a little bit of messiness here, but that's fine. We can fix that. So select N, select everything. We're going to go and put in another PolyDraw. And what this will allow us to do is let's go into here. We want to do more cutting. Now, when you go to cut, if you use your scroll bar, you can go scroll up and get these snapping points. So we can put a snapping point right in the middle and just make sure we're snapping to that. And we're going to go there, there, and there, at which point we will middle click to stop. Now, the next thing we want to do is let's go back to the build mode, and we're going to take this point and we're going to drag, Control Z. We're going to take that point and we're going to drag that up there. And by doing that, we actually fuse those together. Now, this part that's missing, we click this here, we come up, we snap it to there, click and drag and snap the other end. And that's how we get that piece there. Perfect. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to, let's use this move option here. It's a slide option, and this allows us to slide this along that face. And it sort of keeps it on the surface. The next thing we want to do is we want to round this out a little bit more. So we're going to take the snapping that we had before, and just like before, we're going to snap there, snap there, snap there, and come right out to the end there. Once we have that, we're going to do this. Let's go select. And we're going to press 2 to select points. We're going to select a point there, and we'll press T. Now we're going to right-click this and say Align Handle with the World. And this will allow us to sort of start to round out these pieces. Turn off Secure Selection will allow us to just more freely sort of make connections there. And there we go. So now we've got a little bit more rounding of that shape there. Actually, we can probably take these two and just push those. Take that one, and push those in a little bit, and that will create a little more of a line there. Perfect. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to poly bevel a bunch of these edges, just create a little more roundness. So we're going to go to Select Tool. We're going to press 3 to get edge selection. And we're going to go click here. And then we're going to go Shift A and click there. And that gives us that there. We're going to Shift Select there. Shift A, click there. And then just Shift does that. Go to this end. Go Shift to click there. Shift A to click there. Shift to click there. Shift A to click there, and then Shift. Okay, now once we've got that, we can get the Poly Bevel tool. We can do it a number of different ways. One of them is just click it here on the shelf. And then we can set this to 0.002, and there we go. Now, oops. We also probably want to bevel this edge here. So one option we can do here is just click on this little arrow here. It shows us the selection we had. If we press the Shift key and then the A key, we can add that in and press Enter. So even after you've made a selection, you can reselect using this methodology here. We can also set our divisions here to 2, which will just round that out a little bit more. Now, before we start putting everything together, we want to go to this area, and we're going to use a different technique for dealing with the smoothing of things, and that's creasing. So using our edge selection, we're going to select, let's go to Select Tool. We're going to select this, let's make sure we didn't select anything else. This, 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 and shift this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go Tab, Crease, and set that to 10. And one of the things that does is it actually allows these areas to be creased, but these ones not. So we'll get smoothing in here, but it'll be hard edged there. Now, one way to see this is to actually go Shift plus. And what that does is turn on subdivision display. And if we turn smooth shading on, we can just click and get a feel for that. So that gives us a feel for what that shape looks like there. The next thing we want to do is we're going to go to the end of the chain to the copy node. And now we see all of that brought together. Now what we notice is that in the center, these grooves are a little flat. So what we can do is let's go up to this edit node here. And we can select from there these two lines right here. Okay? And we can press T. Then we can go back and set the display on the copy. We can now go in with this and lower that down just to get a feel for how that's looking. So we can take advantage of the fact that we're working with one node up in the chain, but we're seeing the result down below. And that's a much nicer sort of arc in there. It works much better. There we go. Oh, maybe a little bit more. Perfect. If we go back here, one of the things is we probably want to, after we've made the copy, we're going to tab Fuse. And that's going to just, you'll see the difference. If we bypass that, you'll see there's just a little bit of like discontinuity there. But by fusing the pieces, we get much better continuity between everything. Now we're going to tab Transform. And we're going to put a transform node down because we actually need the holes back where they originally were. So we're going to rotate Y in -30 to bring that back. So there we go. So that will line up. If we go spacebar B, you see it lines up there the way we need. And now we can also tab Null node down. And the null node is just sort of, this will allow us to say cylinder out. And we can set the display flag on that. And if we want, you know, let's press L. We've got all this stuff that we did to build this shape. Unless we're going to go and revisit it, one option is to go to here and just go Inputs, Hide Inputs. And that means we've got a single node to work with instead of having to work with all the nodes. And there we go. So we've built our first shape. I hope that you've got a little introduction to how some of the modeling tools work in Houdini. And we'll keep working with these further as we build the rest of the Revolver.